I think we are live on Facebook. Welcome everyone to our weekly Power Hour. If you are new around here, we meet here each and every Tuesday at noon, Arizona time right now, Pacific, 2 p.m. Central and 3 Eastern. We have a guest speaker, and at the end of the presentation, we cut off the live stream where members will want to either get in or stay in the Zoom room for direct Q&A with our speaker and have some fun open networking. If you are interested in joining the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs, join us at NACWE.com. This is just a quick disclaimer. Our program represents the opinions of guest speakers and participants and may or may not necessarily reflect the exact opinions of NACWE, but content is for informational purposes only and should not replace professional or medical advice to your specific circumstances. But last but not least, ultimately consult the Holy Spirit for direction in your life. And if you are joining us for the first time or the first time in a long time, please type the word new or newish in the chat or comments so we can welcome you. If you are a guest of our speaker, please type in guest in the chat. Of course, we love making new friends and business partners. So I am Lindsay, Chief Operations Officer and Heather's Executive Assistant. So before we hand it off to our lovely guest speaker, Marta, we'll dive into a few announcements and prayer. So we are always creating and collaborating here at NACWE. Here's our book written by members. So be sure to pre-order the book and join us on May 16th as we celebrate with our author, members, and publisher. If you have a local chapter here, if you have a local chapter, here are in-person networking events and links. And then as you can see, we did have to postpone Dallas. So for the next slide, if you don't have a local chapter in your area or you want to meet some more amazing women in our community, please join us for our NACWE virtual networking hosted by our Atlanta chapter director, Beth Copeland. So Dallas, make sure you get in here. And then we have 2 sessions available to our members on the second Thursday or the third Friday of the month for our Wisdom Well. These are our mini masterminds. Registration is required because space is limited to 12 members. So bring your biggest business questions and get help from the Hive. And we are looking to add more co-working sessions, but we are currently meeting the first Thursday of every month. So that'll be this week also. And then every Monday, we meet with our father, our CEE or Chief Executive of Everything for a team huddle over our upcoming week. We record our devotional. So if you missed yesterday, go ahead and go watch it back in the live because we go, before we cut off the live before we go deeper personal in our prayer. And then you should have received an email telling you all about the story behind moving our conference, our national conference from April to October. So we are transitioning the website details still. Be looking for another email coming out soon. Here's the link to all of our links in our ecosystem. And then our key verse of the week is Psalms 143:8. Let the morning bring me word of your unfailing love, for I have put my trust in you. Show me the way I should go, for you I entrust my soul. Love that. And then our inspirational quote of the week is, your purpose is not the thing you do. It is the thing that happens in others when you do what you do. Love that too. Let's jump right in with prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for Marta. I thank you for NACWE. I thank you for this community of believers that never cease to fill my cup and speak your words in and through my life. And so, Lord, I thank you for everyone joining us wherever and whatever they have going on. Lord, I ask that you help us to hear what you need us to hear from Marta's presentation. Give her your words And Lord, we praise you and thank you for today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so let me switch gears and stop sharing. And I'll let Miss Marta introduce herself and go from there.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay. Oops. Come on. And of course, it just closed. Sorry about that, folks. Gotta love technology until you click the wrong button. Try that again. Go. There. Get Zoom back on here. There we go. So yes, let me know if you can see that initial slide. Great. As Lindsay said, my name is Marta Goertzen, and today we're going to be talking about along the lines of the theme this month of branding. And Heather had asked me specifically to speak about branding and websites. And there were so many things I knew I could cover in this area. But one of the things that I'd often have to talk about with my web design clients and the coaching that I do with them is clarity over clever. And we're going to be talking about the 4 questions you need to ask before you start designing, or in many cases, redesigning your website. And come on, switch screens here. All right. Technical difficulties. There we go. So this is my furry kids. This is Oliver and Miss Mochi. They are, I include them here specifically because they are part of my branding. My dogs are part of my newsletter. They're part of the social media that I post. They're on my website. And so if you hear them barking, you know who's barking. So hopefully they're still asleep. But if you hear barking, those are the 2 culprits. And as a web designer, I have been a web designer for many years, but what I've found over the years that I really enjoy helping women, specifically women entrepreneurs, find the clarity they need to confidently design a business that fits them in the current season of life they're in, plus feel less stressed in the process. When I look back at all the clients I've worked with, the majority of them have been women who are coaches and consultants and taking their business online. And so I've really come to enjoy that. I have been working with WordPress. I've been self-employed now for over 16 years. And most of those years with WordPress, I do a lot of business and website coaching. I realized a few years ago that I've been coaching longer than I realized. And I've actually been doing business coaching along with the websites. And because I was really diving into their business and helping them translate that onto the website. So it's just recently that I've actually started calling myself a coach. And took me a few years to figure that one out. I'm also a mastermind facilitator. I've been leading the SELA Mastermind for a couple of years now, and it's one of my favorite things that I do. I'm also an author, photographer, and soon to be podcaster. So like a lot of you, a lot of things that I love to do. And I wanted to share this verse again, because this really has become the theme I talk about a lot in my mastermind. I talk a lot about it for me and my business. And one of the reasons I love this verse is this last line, "For to you I entrust my soul." And a lot of times I change that last word soul, and it could be my business. It could be my website that's driving me but bonkers. It could be my messaging. I'm trying to sell a program, my finances. I need to sell something. So I often take that verse and change it. And one of the main things I change it to, "For to you I entrust my business." And it's become a very important verse for me in my business and how I view my business and who's ultimately in charge. I want to share a little bit about my branding journey to kind of show you that, as our friend Diane Cunningham Ellis likes to say, your customers want the evolution of you. And we all have an evolution from where we started to where we are now. And we need to make sure that that evolution continues and that our websites are keeping up with those changes. When I first started out, my very first version of the business, I was the Blue Jeans VA, as a Blue Jeans virtual assistant. And, the first thing I wanted was a logo. I wanted to feel official. I wanted that to make my website and my presence feel cohesive and important. And it really, at that point, I was so new, it really was not important. What was important was getting out there, meeting people, and really honing in on what I wanted to do and who I wanted to serve. Thankfully, I was blessed in my last corporate job that they let me go part-time, let me start my business, and they even let me work with the graphic designer that we were working with as a company. And she actually helped me design my logo. It was a pretty cool opportunity. A few years after that, I realized I really did not like being a general VA. It was not a good fit. And what I found my passion was web design. And so I started to focus in on specifically WordPress websites, working with a lot of coaches and consultants, most of them being women. And so through that, I learned that I outgrew the Blue Jeans VA. So it was time to upgrade, and working with some marketing coaches. And again, I was very blessed. My nephew is a fantastic graphic designer. He gave me the family discount and created a new brand for me, the Trail Guide WebWorks. And that was another evolution of me. And that was something I had to translate over to my website. Because I hate being bored and I like a lot of plates in the air, I started another blog called, another website called See the Reflections. And that was around for about 8 years. And that is where I talked a lot about managing stress and anxiety, where I did a lot of my publishing, shared my photography. And I got a very clear message from the Lord about the end of 2021 that this was not sustainable anymore. And that if I really wanted to grow the business and pull me into the full me into my business, it was time to rebrand. So I actually found the connection is that I talk a lot about finding clarity and direction and finding ways to manage your stress and anxiety as an entrepreneur from my website clients, but also from my blog readers. And so at that point, I rebranded again into SelaStudios.co. And so all of these, again, I just want you to know that your website, once it's created, it's not set in stone. You can update it, you can rebrand it, and you can make changes. So I don't want you to feel paralyzed by what we talk about here. And I hope you find some freedom and some flexibility. And a little bit more about my understanding of branding. Really, one of the big catalysts for me changing pretty much everything was reading the book Story Brand by Donald Miller. That changed my approach to my business. It drastically changed how I approached web design. And I realized all the things that I had been thinking. I actually had written a book before about web design, planning your website, before I read Story Brand. And all of a sudden, all those thoughts and ideas I had of talking with these clients for all these years made sense after reading Story Brand. And that really changed how I approach talking to my clients about web design. And through all those evolutions of the different branding and the pivots, I got clearer and clearer who my target market is, the problem I solve, and how I solve it, and who I solve it for. So all of these play a major role in my journey for branding, but I think getting clearer for you also influences your understanding of branding and how to communicate that brand. And here is the news that I give all my clients, is that a website is never done. And this is good news and bad news. The good news is that you do not have to have a perfect website out of the gate. You do not need to have a high-end design. You don't need to have a logo. You can start. In many cases, I would rather you have a website with really clear headlines that really communicates what you do and who you do it for than a fancy high-end website. Because a fancy website does not mean it's going to do anything for you. A clear website that talks to your target market and encourages them to stay on your site and engage with you, that's way more effective. The bad news though, is that a website is never done. So it's not a set it and forget it. It's something that you do need to keep up. You need to keep up with the security if you're doing WordPress especially, but you need to update your branding. You need to update content. You need to check your links. So it's something that you do need to have. What I recommend is doing a regular review of your website and have it on your calendar so that you don't forget, because I do forget. I actually was looking through my website before this presentation yep, nope, I forgot my appointment. So made a few updates before jumping on today. One of the questions I get asked a lot, and actually it's one of the first questions I used to ask my clients before I really got clear on my process, is what theme should I use? And I get this from WordPress users, I get it from Squarespace users, I get it from Weebly and Wix users. And that really isn't the first question, because we want you to get clear on your messaging first and be clear about it, and then make sure that you have a design that supports it. So the questions I do think you should ask for first is, one, is my messaging clear? What is the goal and purpose of my website? Make sure that my website is easy to use and navigate, and then also to make sure that your personality is coming through. So if the first question is my messaging clear and easy to understand? Again, and you're going to hear me say this a few times, but if your website is not talking to your target market and keeping them on your site, you're going to lose them. So making sure that you are clear in your headlines, in your graphics, in your bullet points, in your blog posts, making sure that your message is clear and really easy to understand. And to communicate your brand and to communicate your message, you really need to know who, your what, your how, and your why. Who are you talking to? Whose attention are you trying to grab? Who do you want to stay on your site and click that buy button, or click that sign up here button, or click here to book your discovery call? Who is it that you're trying to talk to? And what problem do you solve for that person? And then how do you solve that? And then also you need to answer the question, why you? If there are 3 people that solve this problem, why should they pick you? And to keep that and to make sure that that is clear, there's a few key things I want you to keep in mind. You need to keep your headline short and easy to understand, especially because we are living in a mobile device world. So Google Analytics, Google browsers, all the browsers, if you look at your website traffic stats, most likely 60 to 70% of your traffic is coming from a mobile device. So it's even more important that this little 3-4 inch screen, if you're on a small phone, it's really easy to understand. And so that also means that when you have offers on your website, especially for list building, you need to make sure that they're targeted, on point, and easy to understand, and very simple, clear, direct calls to action. And a call to action is asking somebody to do something. You want them to click here to read more. You want them to sign up for something. You want them to book a discovery call. You want them to buy your book. Make sure that is really easy and clear to understand. This is very interesting. It surprised me, but didn't surprise me. Over 50% of websites do not have a call to action on their homepage. When I talk to my clients and say, okay, this is on your homepage, what do you want that person to do? Most people don't know. And so it's something that you really need to think through. Every page on your website needs to ask them to do something. You've read this, now I need you to make a decision. Click here to go visit, or are you done? It's okay to go. So every page on your website, but especially your homepage, you need to tell them what to do and have a clear call to action. So here's my fun little example. I was trying to think of something that would just make this clear headline point drive it home. And the only thing I could think of was about pink pigs. Don't ask me why, but it popped in my head. But this is something I have to coach my clients through quite a bit. And I want you to think through the headline on your website. We get very attached to what we do, using it in our own terms, in our own words, and it's not clearly communicating to our target market what we do. So often I do get these very vague, very flowery headlines. But the example here is, I empower pink pigs to dream big and reach their wildest dreams. If I'm a pink pig going, that sounds great, but I don't know what that means. But if I get really clear and I teach pigs how to fly, that tells me exactly what you do, that, okay, you can help me. So now I want to learn more. So, and this is something also, I don't want you to feel trapped in this, that you must come up with a perfect headline right out of the gate. I rebranded in early 2022 or middle of 2022. I've lost track of how many times my headline has changed, because each time I work with a client, each time I work with a coach, each time I develop a new product, my headline gets clearer and clearer. So it may take you several months. It may take you a year to really get to a headline that really works. It speaks to your target market and tells people what you do and who you do it for. So this headline is very important, but it shouldn't stop you from keeping on moving with the rest of your website. And clarity always wins over cute and clever. So again, just going back here, if you look at those 2 headlines, one that grabs your attention is the clear one. The cute one is, and the clever one, great, that sounds great, but it doesn't tell me anything. So cute over clarity wins over time. Clever over clarity wins over every time. And this is an interesting stat, and I'm actually surprised it's not higher. 46% of website users said the lack of a clear message was the main reason they left a website, which tells you how important it is to keep the clarity on your website rather than being cute and clever. As much as we're creative entrepreneurs, we want to do that, but it is about them. We want to make sure that we're communicating correctly. Also, a confused mind doesn't buy. And buy doesn't necessarily mean exchange of money and dollars. It could be sign up for this, book this discovery call, sign up for this webinar. So a confused mind, if they're not clear on what you do, they're probably just going to leave. And if you look at your website stats, there is a stat called bounce rate. And a bounce rate means somebody landed on your site, took 2 seconds to make a decision and left. And a lot of times it's not unusual. So don't freak out if you do have a high bounce rate, but a bounce rate can tell you, is my website clear? Am I getting the right people to my website? So keep that in mind as you're working through your website. And you literally only have seconds to grab somebody's attention. So again, clarity over cute wins every time. And again, especially on mobile, if you look at your screen, you'd only have a few seconds to grab their attention and they will leave, especially if they're coming off of something like a social media link. They're already distracted. They're already thinking of other things. So keep that really clear and make sure that it works really well on a mobile device. The second question is I want you to ask, what are my top website goals? And the reason I want you to ask this is we ask our websites to do a lot. They are our online hub. They're the front desk, the online virtual desk of our office. They're our customer service. They are our e-commerce store. They are our list builder. And so we ask our websites to do a lot. And because of that, we try to cram everything onto a home page or a services page or a contact page or an about page. But if we can get clear on the top 2 goals of what we want our website to do, we can make decisions that help the user interact with our website in a way that makes sense and it makes it easy to use. So for example, do you want to build your email list? Are you selling something? Are you wanting people to sign up for a webinar or a course right now? Do you want somebody to go read a blog? Do you want somebody to book a discovery call? So when you know the top 2 goals, that tells you those are the top calls to action you need to have on your website. And that way you're not trying to cram everything, including the kitchen sink, and confusing your people, your visitors. You are making it very clear what you do, who you do it for, and why they should interact with your website further and contact you. And then after they read your headline, they know that I help pink pigs to fly. What's the very next thing I want them to do? And that is your next big call to action. Do you want them to sign up for a coaching program? Do you want them to book a discovery call? And it's okay for those top 2 goals, and especially your top number 1 goal, to have that repeated on your website. We hear in marketing that they used to say that somebody needs to see something 7 to 10 times before they make a decision. And that nowadays it's a lot higher, but the same thing is true on a website. If you want somebody to sign up for your email list or book a discovery call, that link and that and the invitation needs to be repeated multiple times. And it's okay to have it repeated. Think of if you're scrolling through a website, think of your behavior. If you go, oh, I do want to know more. Do I really want to have to scroll all the way back to the top to go find that link that I saw at the top? It's okay to repeat it and make it as easy as possible to find that very next step you want that visitor to take on your website. The third question is my website easy to use? In my approach, I design mobile first and then make sure that it works on a desktop. Most people, like I mentioned before, with a few exceptions, and I did run into a few exceptions just recently, again, most people have 60 to 70% of their traffic coming from a mobile device. But even if you have mostly desktop, computer, and a larger screen, people visiting your site, that still means you probably have a third to half of your traffic coming from a mobile device. And that's a significant chunk of your traffic. So make sure it's working on a mobile device. And so a memorable site has clear navigation, easy to use and find the info that they're looking for, has a very clear call to action, and it really looks good to the eye. And number 1, a clear navigation. People are coming to your site and they're looking for the basics. They want to know how to get to your homepage, how to learn about you, what services do you offer, and a way to contact you. So if you're using clever, cute names on those navigation, you're making me think and you're making me wonder, how in the world do I get in touch with you? And one of the adages that we say in web design, don't make me think. Tell me what to do. Keep it clear. If I want to read your blog, just make it a simple link to the blog. And is it easy to use and find the info I'm looking for? Again, if you're having to scroll, or even on a desktop, if somebody's having to scroll and hunt around to find what to do, that is not improving the customer journey on your website. Clear call to action and a pleasing to the eye. This, again, does not mean that you need high-end graphic design. That may be something that you get to in further down the road, but good white space, good fonts, all of that plays a role in making it pleasing to the eye and easy to find what people are looking for. And then we want to make sure that your personality is coming through. And one thing I have to tell people, especially on your about page, and this may sound a little strange to some people, but your website isn't strictly about you. Your website is about your target market, the person that you're trying to engage and get onto your website and to sign up for your thing, contact you, read your blog. So it's not, we want your personality to come through, but we want to be able to talk to our target market so that they go, okay, you get me. So now I want to learn more. But at the same time, we want them to understand what it's like to work with you. So we want your personality to come through. That could be through fun graphics. It could be through fun text. It could be from great offers. It could be from a fun webinar or a fun opt-in that sounds like, you know what, I would like to learn more about you. So make sure that your personality is coming through and supporting your message, but not overwhelming your message. So now that you've answered those questions, now you're ready to start designing your website. And again, your design needs to support your message, not overwhelm it. A lot of times people are coming to me and they want fancy graphics and 5 different fonts. And so it gets to the point where the website look is overwhelming the message and the message is not coming through. Your branding is not coming through. But I don't want this to come across as that design is not important. It is very important. This stat actually did surprise me. First impressions are 94% design related. People scroll through your website. Can they look through it really quickly? Are the graphics, are they pixelated or are they really clear? Are they simple? When I am designing a website for somebody, I give them a very plain Jane mock-up of what that site is going to be. It may have their logo on it, but it rarely has graphics. It has a spot where I save that a picture of you is going to go here, or a picture of your product is going to go here. And I use very plain fonts and I use very plain elements to help them understand that headlines are important. The layout is important. Are we directing people down your website so they understand what they need to do next and how to find more information? And then once we get the flow of the website, we get the headlines right, then we can start bringing in the design elements to help support that message and keep it clear. And again, 38% of people will stop engaging with a website if the layout is unattractive. And most of the time, this is from trying to stash everything, including the kitchen sink, into a homepage, especially, or onto an about page. So that they're getting lost in the message, they're getting lost in the map, in the mess and the mass of information they're trying to consume. And the other thing to keep in mind is that website visitors do not read. At least the majority of them do not. They scan. And one stat that I've heard recently is that they read or comprehend about 20% of what you have on your website homepage, especially. So this means having clear headlines. This means having bullet points. This means having italics. This means make it easy so people can understand the highlight of what you're trying to tell them. And if they want to go back for more information, then they will go back and read more. And before you start adding new things to your design, and I want you to ask yourself, will this new feature help my user? Will it enhance their experience with my website? Or am I adding it just because somebody over there is doing it and I thought it looked cool? A lot of times something that looks cool on their website is not going to work on your website and actually can impede the user to interacting with you, and can also change how it works on a mobile device. And that's a big thing that I run across. I'm going, that's great, but your site can't handle that. So make sure you're asking, will this benefit the user and will it support my message, or is it going to overwhelm it or ruin my website? And the big thing, this is a whole other conversation, but will this change how fast my website loads? With all the browsers now, because they're indexing and finding your site mobile first, this is an important point. This includes, are you downloading a stock photo and then uploading it full size? Are you adding a feature that requires some animation? Will this slow down my site? And this is important because if there are 3 options in front of the browser provider and they're showing somebody's typed in something and you come up in the search results, if search result number 1 and 2 loads faster and is a better user experience for that person doing the search, their sites will show up first before yours. So keeping in mind that before you add something, how is it going to affect your message and how is it going to affect your website? And again, yeah, design for mobile first. And I there's a few things I'm saying over and over here because when I talk to my clients, they don't think of these things. And again, I didn't think of these things beginning with. So you don't know what you don't know. Make sure it works on mobile. Make sure that you're testing your website on a mobile device and making sure it reads well. And especially if you've run, especially on WordPress, if you've designed on WordPress, after you've done a major update, make sure you go back and look at your website and see how it's working. Are the buttons working? Is the layout working? Because every once in a while, WordPress throws us a monkey wrench and throws something out of whack. So make sure that after you do a website update that you're checking your website over. And again, website visitors scan, they don't read. So think of your own behavior on a phone. If you go to a website and you're looking through something, you're using your finger to just scan through it. Are you really reading everything or are you scanning to look for the high points? And make sure that when you're reading on screens that when you are deciding on the font that you want, the color of font that you want, and even the size of font, make sure that there's good contrast and use a larger font than you think. When I first started web design, we were using font sizes of about 12 to 13 point, sometimes 14 point. And then a few years later, because mobile started to become more important, we bumped it up to about 14, 15. It's not unusual for me now to design a website with 15, 16, and sometimes even 17 or 18 point font size. There are so many font choices out there right now that a lot of them are really small. And they actually, in the height of the letters, it is small. So make sure that you're making the font big enough so that it can be read on a desktop and a mobile device. And also that has good contrast because this is a design element. If your font is small or really light, this is going to impact the user's experience and they're probably going to leave. If you have websites that are colors that are hard to, there's a lot of colors that you love the color, but if you try it on a website and try it on a small screen, it just doesn't work well. So make sure that your screens are easy to read and it's good, easy to see and easy to find what they're looking for. So as we close up here, the things I want you to remember: a website is never done. A confused mind does not buy, and don't make me think. Especially if somebody is coming off, you're sharing your link on a social media post or even on something like Pinterest, don't make me think. Take me to the content and give me what I need and tell me what to do next. These are the important things. And these are all, again, this is clarity over clever, making sure that you're clear in your messaging, in your branding, and you're translating your brand and your messaging over to the client who is coming to find out more about you. So that's it for today. I wanted to thank you again for having me over. This is an invitation for you. I have the Healthy Website Checklist. Your website is an asset to your business, and we don't always treat it as such. And so this is a checklist to see how you're doing. Is your messaging clear? Do you know how to secure your website? Do you know how to access all the important pieces of your website? So I invite you to download the checklist and find which areas you're doing great in and which areas that you're not doing so great in. And I don't want you to be discouraged if you find you're not doing great in all the areas. That's not uncommon. I get that a lot. This will give you a checklist of things to work on so that you have a healthy website. And also I wanted to invite you on Friday, I am hosting a quarterly business review workshop. And this includes a workbook and then a group coaching call on Friday, where we go through the first quarter, what happened, what worked, what didn't. And then we look ahead to the second quarter and troubleshoot, what areas are you stuck in? What's working, what's not, what needs to change in the next quarter? And one of the questions that we do look at is, how's my website doing? Is my website doing? How's my website traffic? Is my how are my opt-ins? How's the signups going? So that's all something we'll cover in the workshop. So I also would invite you to join that as well. And that's it for me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And just really quickly in your own words, because obviously it's to me really clear that the best referral is obviously anyone who needs another set of eyes on their website. So who can we refer your way, Marta?
Yeah, right now I'm looking back through all of my clients. I've had to do this a few times over the last year. I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, specifically coaches and consultants, who are ready to scale up their business, or they know that they've, and one of the things that's coming up a lot lately is I've outgrown my business. And so now it's time to upgrade my website. It's time to upgrade my services. So I work with a lot of women entrepreneurs who are over 50. I work with a lot of age ranges, but a lot of them are over 50 who are ready to take their business to the next level.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So again, we want to thank Marta for her amazing expert matter, sharing everything from her heart. And thank you to everyone who's joining us online. And we pray you have an amazing week. Don't forget that you were created for a legacy level impact for such a time as this. So we'll see you back next week.